Welcome back to the channel, where today we're diving into one of the bloodiest and most misunderstood chapters of early Malaya. The rivalry between two Chinese secret societies, Gui Hinn and Haissan. These were not just gangs, they were powerful economic networks that controlled labor, tin, and local politics. They aligned themselves with rival Malay elites, turned the tin fields of Perak into a war zone, and ultimately helped pull the British into direct rule. But before we can understand why they fought, we first need to understand what Chinese secret societies actually were and how they fit into the political world of 19th century Malaya. In the 19th century, tens of thousands of Chinese migrants arrived in Malaya, drawn by tin, the most valuable resource in the region. Most did not come alone. They arrived through organized recruitment networks based on hometown, clan, and dialect. Out of this system grew what were known as secret societies. At their core, these groups were multi-purpose institutions. They were mutual aid societies, helping migrants find work, lodging, credit, and protection in an unfamiliar land. They were labor recruiters, organizing entire mining communities rather than individual workers. They were economic gatekeepers, controlling access to mines, transport routes, gambling houses, and capital. And when their interests were threatened, they could act as armed forces. Dialect networks shaped everything. Hakka, Cantonese, Hokkien, Teochew, and Hainanese migrants often clustered together, trusting people who spoke the same language and came from the same region. In practice, this meant that economic competition frequently followed dialect lines as much as business ones. Crucially, these societies did not operate independently of local politics. In Perak, land and legitimacy belonged to the Malay Sultanate and its chiefs. Chinese miners controlled labor and capital. Malay elites controlled territory and authority. Real power therefore flowed through alliances between Chinese secret societies and Malay patrons, a partnership of money, manpower, and political legitimacy. By the 1860s, this arrangement had become dangerously unstable. Rival Chinese networks competed for the richest tin fields, while rival Malay elites competed for influence inside the Perak court. When these two rivalries overlapped, local disputes turned into organized warfare. That is the world in which Gui Hinn and Haissan rose to power in Larut, the heart of Perak's tin economy. The Gui Hinn were one of the most powerful Chinese societies operating in Larut. They were linked to broader southern Chinese triad networks and drew much of their strength from tightly connected migrant communities. Economically, the Gui Hinn controlled key mining settlements and labor lines. They recruited miners, mediated disputes, collected revenues, and provided protection, effectively functioning as a parallel government inside their territory. Politically, their survival depended on Malay patronage. In a fragmented Perak elite, different chiefs and royal claimants sought Chinese backing to strengthen their own position. The Gui Hinn aligned themselves with one faction of the Perak aristocracy, exchanging mining revenues and manpower for political recognition and territorial access. This alliance transformed local disputes into state-level struggles. To support the Gui Hinn was not just to support a mining group, it was to support a particular vision of power inside Perak itself. The Haissan emerged as the principal rival to the Gui Hinn in Larut. Like their opponents, they controlled labor recruitment, mining concessions, and protection networks. They were broadly associated with Hakka migrant communities in parts of Larut, though their leadership and alliances shifted over time. Politically, the Haissan aligned with a different Malay patronage faction, placing them on a direct collision course with the Gui Hinn. Control over mines therefore meant control over influence within the Perak court. For the Haissan, dominance in Larut was never just about profit. It was about ensuring their Malay allies held the upper hand in state politics. Economic competition thus became a proxy war between rival elites, Chinese and Malay alike. By the early 1860s, Larut was no longer just a mining frontier. It was a battlefield shaped by intertwined Chinese networks and Malay politics. The conflict boiled down to three intertwined drivers. First, tin. Larut was one of the richest tin districts in Southeast Asia. Whoever controlled it controlled immense wealth. Second, labor. Both societies depended on mass recruitment of miners. Losing territory meant losing workers, revenue, and influence. Third, patronage. Rival Malay elites backed rival Chinese societies. As a result, mining disputes escalated into struggles over who held real power in Perak. A boundary quarrel between two mines could quickly become a clash between two armies, and behind those armies stood competing political patrons. What followed was not one battle, but more than a decade of violence known as the Larut Wars. Armed bands burned settlements, seized mines, and drove thousands of miners from their homes. Entire communities were displaced, trade collapsed, local order broke down. Perak's internal instability deepened as rival Malay factions aligned with either Gui Hinn or Haissan. What began as an economic conflict had become a political crisis, and the state was increasingly ungovernable. By the early 1870s, Perak was effectively at war with itself. The turning point came in 1874 with the Pangkor Treaty. Alarmed by chaos that threatened trade and British interests, colonial authorities intervened decisively. They recognized a new Sultan of Perak and installed a British resident with sweeping administrative power. This did not immediately erase secret societies, but it contained and weakened them. Open warfare became impossible. Mining was reorganized under tighter regulation. Malay political authority was reshaped, and British influence expanded dramatically. In effect, the Larut Wars became one of the key events that accelerated colonial rule in Malaya. Their role changed in three phases. Frontier era, mid-1800s, they acted as armies, courts, tax collectors, and protectors. Colonial containment, late 1800s. They shifted from open militias to shadow networks. Still powerful, but less visible. Decline and transformation. 20th century. Formal courts, trade unions, and modern government replaced many of their functions. Some societies faded, others went underground. The militias disappeared, but the networks did not. Not in their old form, but their legacy survives. Clan associations in Penang, Kuala Lumpur, and Ipoh still provide welfare, business networks, and cultural preservation, echoing the mutual aid role of earlier societies. Chinese business networks across Malaysia and Southeast Asia still reflect the importance of trust, dialect, and shared origin that structured 19th century migrant life. And in a darker sense, fragments of secret society-style organization persist in organized crime across the region, far removed from Larut, but rooted in the same historical world. The story of Gui Hinn and Haissan is not just a tale of violence. It is a reminder that Malaysia's history was forged through deeply entangled relationships between Chinese migrants, Malay rulers, and colonial power. Tin created wealth, patronage shaped politics, and conflict invited empire. The wars of Larut are long over, but their imprint remains in Malaysia's plural society, its economic networks, and its complex balance between communities. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.